Welcome to yet another episode of the Correct Point podcast. I'm your co-host Dev Tyagi, and joining me is the wonderful and ebullient Pranay Dangra.
Thanks
Fresh
for the
from a
kind
happy
words,
win
Dave.
yesterday, registered by the Proteas' favorite team, the one his heart beats for, and understandably so. Now, at a time where the tournament was supposed to have been about the defending champions, the two-time World Cup winners, the West Indies, and powerhouses like Indian cricket, teams like England, Pakistan, and South Africa have risen to the fore, and rightly so, and interestingly so, rather. Now, what have been the reasons? Why are these teams doing well whilst the other so called mighty teams are struggling? My first question to Pranay, before anything else, is how does it feel to be a South African fan at this point in time? What do you have to say?
Oh, Dave, it's absolutely brilliant. The After we beat the West Indies, and I'm sorry for saying that, uh,
Sorry to
then
whom?
the
To Jason Holder and Kyron Pollard? Not to me. I'm not playing in the field.
uh, then from a losing situation, we managed to grab victory against Sri Lanka, where we were like really up against it
Killer Miller.
with two massive sixes by Kilometer. But before that, credit also has to be given to Temba Bavuma because he actually constructed a very good innings of 46 or 46 balls where he stabilized the chase, which gave a platform for people like Miller to capitalize. And you shouldn't also forget Rabada's crucial six in the second last over. That gave momentum and that made Miller also realize that if Rabada is hitting it out of the park, what am I doing? And Lahiru Kumara was pretty much under pressure, so it had to be this way. And they took that
Not that
confidence.
things have not that things have changed drastically for Mr. Kumara, as seen yesterday too. But well, in the recent game, I mean. But I wanted to ask you when this tournament started, did you win did you expect four matches, three wins, and one loss? Would be South Africa where they are?
They've been calling this group as the group of death. But honestly, no one's going to die, right? If you lose, you'll go back home. तो मतलब अगर मरने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता है तो इतना ग्रुप ऑफ डेथ बोलने की क्या जरूरत है. But yeah, the thing is that South Africa is definitely in a tougher group as compared to the other teams in the other group. So after they lost to Australia, they could have either gone totally down or they could have gone up. And thankfully, they've gone up, which like makes me really happy. So now all that I can hope for is South Africa beating England in the quarterfinal for South Africa, but not so for England. You're getting the point
So what
because
happens? Right. So what happens if South Africa and England in that game, England happen to lose and South Africa win? Does it
and
help
South
the
Africa's
chances
in
of
the semi-finals. Yeah.
Does it help the chances of West Indies?
I think West Indies needs to hope for a major South African bashing at the hands of England, and they need to hope to beat the Australians as well as I think they yet to play Bangladesh or Sri Lanka, one of those. So
But
for
wait
West
one
Indies,
second. The problem is there is no Shea hope. Although one should not be shy to hope, but that's not going to happen. Anyways, that's excellent. That's excellent. Your key players so far from the South African unit, since we are just talking South Africa for now.
for me, there've been a couple. There's Kagiso Rabada. There are the two spinners. There's Andrik Nokia, who's like bowling beautifully. He's tossing stumps at 150 kilometers per hour. I think in India, the traffic is such that cars don't move at about 15 kilometers per hour, but he's bowling at 150 kilometers per hour, 10 times more. So that's like really
So
awesome.
basically, you're trying to say that the bowling speed of Kagiso Rabada is where the Indian fuel prices are expected to reach sometime soon.
Andrik Nokia. Pele Kagiso Rabada and then Andrik Nokia. But the biggest the person who's really impressed me is obviously Eden Markram, and you would agree because
He's my favorite player right now.
about 2-3 years
He's my
back he was
favorite player
just
right
labeled as a test opener, and he wasn't ever thought of representing South Africa in the white ball format. But now he is your go-to man. And in fact, yesterday the expert Akash Chopra made a comparison of him to Jack Carlos also, which actually I'm not sure whether it made sense because Markram is too raw in his career right now. And another South African fast bowler, Moni Morkel, was on video call, and he said
Do you
that
mean
it's
the
too
Owen Wilson of South African fast
the
bowling?
Owen Wilson of South African cricket. Yeah. So he said that it's too early to compare Aiden Markram to Jack Tallis, but you know how our experts are that if someone starts doing something really well, then all the greats are like the comparison starts. So yeah, and Bavuma's leadership, Dave, that's been fantastic. His field placements, his out of the box thinking, the way he carried the De Kock episode in such a calm and collective manner, that was something. Because if that would have grown out of proportion, politics would have ruined South African cricket in this tournament as we speak.
And may I also humbly add, when you have a batsman like David Miller coming in at number 6, you feel that the top 6 in your 11 in your playing 11 are really firmly cemented to unfurl a debacle on the other team. It's a very promising lineup and a very balanced bowling attack, which often gets underappreciated. Shamsi and Keshav Maharaj and 3 fast bowlers, Nokia, Pretorius, and Rabada. Brilliant stuff from South Africa.
With a guy like Ngidi waiting in the wings, Dave.
Yeah. Minus the lungi in the sporting gear. Yeah, couldn't be happier for you, Pranay. Couldn't be happier. And viewers, this may stem from a space of bias, but the man on the other side of the screen, which is not Robert Mugabe, which is Pranay Rangra, you have to read his articles on South Africa, not just on Correct Point, but on any other sport website. If there is somebody who knows his stuff when it comes to the Proteas cricket, then it's the man who's on fire right now. I can imagine. And I can't wait to see his next piece come out soon, whenever it comes. Moving on. A couple of questions.
Can we spend 2 minutes on South Africa's batting? There are a couple of points I would like to raise that there are 4 openers playing in the 11, if you've realized. There's Bavuma, who's a natural opener. There's De Kock, who's a natural opener. There's Markram, who's a natural opener. And there's Reza Hendricks, who's a natural opener. So we are actually a little lean, or should I say a little slim, on good middle order batsmen. So that's one area of concern for me when it comes to the South African batting, because the only guy we have in reserves is Hendrik Larsson. And he's frankly done nothing in this tournament. I mean, nothing of much note, of much worth. Right. So our middle order seems a little shaky right now, to be brutally honest with you. Because if you ask an opener to play a middle order role, it becomes difficult.
Right. I think no team's perfect. I think it's just about finding yourself in regrouping after every single match. Yeah. Something which the South Africans have done very nicely so far, and much to the pleasure of fans, because you could be a fan of India, Pakistan, and or the West Indies, and I'm a fan of all 3 teams, including India, of course. My passport is still Indian, and I do have my Aadhaar card in place, which isn't cancelled as yet. But whenever South Africa does well, you feel good as a cricket fan. There's something nice that you feel. Moving on, Pranay, couple of what has led to India's debacle so far, if debacle is the right. Being an Indian, being an observer of their that you are in terms of watching Indian cricket, what do you feel has happened to India? 2 matches, no wins so far.
Dave, I think the Indian players have been really overworked, and considering that endorsements also play a big role in their life, so performance is bound to go down if you're on the road 24/7, and plus you feel doing ads is also very important. So I think they've been found wanting there, and somewhere I feel that they consider themselves indispensable in the team. It's times India takes an approach of perform or perish, and I think the guy who's going to be a next coach, Rahul Dravid, will bring this thinking in. If I'm not mistaken. What do you think?
I'll first begin by answering the point on Rahul Dravid. I'm not extremely elated with Rahul Dravid, almost now the coach of the men's team, but that's only down to the one simple fact that I think he was in a happier and a more productive space, polishing the next generation cricketers who would have joined this team, which he's now been entrusted with the task of coaching. This is a team which has heavyweights, and every team has heavyweights. except South Africa. And what do I mean by that? No player relishes the idea of being a star in the South African unit. You know, you play for the Protean cause.
Yeah.
In India, unfortunately, thanks to us fans, thanks to rabble-rousing social media, keyboard warriors, and experts whose runs are far lesser in comparison to their Twitter followers, who actually are called experts, and I don't want to take names. The players are actually transformed into some demigods when they are not. They are just mere mortals, right? So for example, let's take the game against Pakistan. How difficult was it for the Indian fans and for the Pakistani fans to digest one fact that one team has to win, one team has to lose, and Pakistan played better cricket, and full credit to them. And only thing which we Indian fans lacked at the outcome of the match was to have accepted the defeat with grace. So now are the people who created the Mocha ads eating their words? Have they been shown the mirror? I hope they have, and I hope they have taken a cold stare at themselves in the mirror, because it is them who have been found wanting, not our friends from the other sides of the border, who, by the way, are not enemies of India. That's my view. And I think with Rahul Dravid coming in, he would definitely try to instill a sense of balance and simplicity. Nowhere am I trying to say that legends like Kohli, Sharma, other people, other rising forces like Pandya, Pant play for themselves, not for the team. They play for the team. But you cannot have, there are two things. You either are a collection of talents or are you a collection of stars? And when it comes to the latter, there will be problems. And this is one issue which needs to be addressed. This is an issue which needs to be taken very simply, that, just relax. It's a game of cricket. Go out there and express yourself. Something which, coming over to the West Indies now, something which the West Indies have failed to do. So my question to you is, are you actually shocked or stunned where West Indies find themselves currently at?
Yes, a little, because I think there have been a couple of West Indies players who were there from the inaugural T20 World Cup. Like there's been Chris Gayle, I think
Galen Bravo.
Galen Bravo, that's
Galen
right.
Bravo.
So I just thought that the kind of experience that they would bring to the West Indies team should have held them in good stead to at least reach the semi-finals in this tournament. But as you rightly said, the only predictable thing about West Indies is that they're unpredictable. So honestly,
Right.
it's a little, I'm not surprised, so to say, but I'm a little disheartened, because like ideally for me in this group, if South Africa and West Indies were the two teams who would have made it to the semi-finals, it would have been simply epic. And possibly then beating the two teams in Group A and the South African
And
West
meeting the
Indies
final.
Yeah, that would have been
Hi,
really
Pranay.
nice.
Have you ever heard of a term called utopia? It's the
Yeah.
opposite of dystopia. But anyways, yeah,
But you guys still
great
have a
point there.
chance, Dave. I mean, technically, if England beats South Africa by a hefty margin, which one wouldn't consider very surprising the way they thrashed Australia, and if West
I
Indies
think
manages to get the better of Australia, and I think Sri Lanka or Bangladesh, whoever they are to face next, I think Sri Lanka, yeah.
Sri Lanka
So,
first, and then on 6th of November, Australia.
that 6th of November is going to be a very crucial date, because in the afternoon, Australia and West Indies will play. And I think then the last group game is between South Africa and England. So all the permutations and
Cracker of a day.
combinations, yeah, all
Cracker
the combinations would have been worked by then. And South Africa will know exactly what they need to do to make to the semi-finals.
Yeah. But speaking of the word chance, which you referred, I think the only chance which exists for real is Jean-Claude Van Damme, because his character in the 1993 movie Hard Target was Chance Boudreau. And that's true. Otherwise, there's no chance for the West Indies. And I think, permutations, combinations notwithstanding, they should actually, much like India, take a good hard look at themselves and, just realize that mighty muscles cannot take you where brain power and playing as one unit can, or where teamwork can. Something demonstrated excellently by two teams in particular. One we've spoken about, Proteas, which brings a smile to your face, and rightly so. And the other, Pakistan, who we now need to talk. My first question to you, and I'm actually reiterating my point from the last podcast. What is the issue we Indian fans have with Pakistan doing well? Is this uncalled for? Can't we just simply appreciate that our friends from the other side of the border have played better cricket? And theek hai yaar, I mean, they were the ones who were cornered. So when you lose Pranay, you have more motivation than I, who has won, to beat me.
That's right.
That's what I feel. So how difficult is it to accept that Pakistan are playing outstanding cricket?
I think, Dave, this has a lot to do with the media narrative. What we are being made to consume in the term or in the terminology of this word called as patriotism. I think when India plays Pakistan, it's not a time that you should feel
The war
patriotic.
scene out there. The
Yeah,
missiles
it's not the war scene. I agree.
Bloodshed.
It's an intense rivalry, and there are times where India will conquer Pakistan. There are times when Pakistan will conquer India, because let's face it, in T20 cricket, both are very capable. So when it comes to India losing to Pakistan, you don't become a smaller person if you appreciate Pakistan. Because honestly, like we discussed in the last podcast, we said that Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan played out of their skins. They chased 150 with a proper approach, in a proper way. They had a plan in place. They knew when to defend, when to attack. Similarly, when India played against New Zealand, I'm sure this team wasn't the one to get 110 all out, if I'm not mistaken. Or were they all out, but they were just they just made 110. I'm sure a team posting stars like Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Ishan Kishan, etc.
They were all
etc.
out in their dashing of hope, in their crushing of faith.
So the point is that, isn't it time the Indian fan also realizes that it's too much of what should I say? I'm not getting that word. I mean, you are in a la-la land if you keep praising India, or if you keep thinking India is God. It's time you let the players be, and they need to have a realization that performance is what has got them this, or possibly the godlike status. But tomorrow, if they stop performing, they'll be out of the team. And that's where I think Rahul Dravid will be the agent of change. I hope he is. That's why I told you initially.
He doesn't become a Mossad agent. An agent of change is still very good. But that's the worst joke of the day, guys. And thanks for throwing the shoes at me. But
they have to have the performer perish approach, Dave. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But speaking about Pakistan, they've been brilliant, man. They beat Namibia also convincingly yesterday. They've just been super.
So what are the chances of your citizenship being cancelled if you appreciate Pakistan on Twitter if they win the World Cup?
My citizenship being cancelled? I was never supposed to go to Pakistan.
No, but what if India cancels your citizenship? Sorry, guys, it's just a light-hearted moment.
Then I'm sure I still have a place to live in Sainik Farms.
Oh, you mean the South Delhiites and their card parties and their shenanigans? Let's not even get there. Will the townies be upset? I don't know.
For them, anyways, the Burbies are non-existent. So it doesn't matter.
The Burbies. You don't mean the Berbice Island in the Caribbean, right?
No.
You don't. Now, Joss Butler has been a revelation.
Yeah, he has.
So
ever since he started opening in T20 cricket, I think it was Morgan's decision, or I don't know who, or the English coach at that point in time. From the time that he started opening with Jason Roy, his game has just got better. And the dismissing Australia for 125 and then deciding to go all out to achieve that target in with 3-4 overs.
11 overs, 12 overs.
Yeah, is something. I mean, English cricket, the way they have transformed in white ball cricket, should be a management case study on how can you make a losing team a winning team. From being hopeless to being filled with hope. That is what English cricket is right now. And hats off to them. Hats off.
So let me put you into
Ben Stokes made a very obvious statement when he said that I think Pakistan and England are going to be playing in the final. So I was just thinking to myself that, I mean, that's the most obvious thing to say. So what's the prediction?
And coming from a South African born, a New Zealander, sorry, this was surprising. But so he doesn't want New Zealand to win?
Speaking about New Zealand, how do you see them progressing in this tournament? And what do you think about the New Zealand cricket?
There's nothing which you can't really offer sermons when it comes to New Zealand cricket. It's the cricket which they play on the day which defines them. And I think it's a classic case of somebody keeping his bearings about himself, whether it is a normal game, whether it is a domestic game, whether it is an ICC tournament. But to answer your question, I won't rule out New Zealand progressing, further, because they still have a chance, mathematically speaking. But I think the greatness of New Zealand stems from the fact in them being a simple, down-to-earth, cohesive unit. Even if you call Kane Williamson hypothetically the god of New Zealand batting, he would be the first to disown that tag. Second reaction would be that, why are you even saying this? Third would be the fans won't like it. So it's a very simple, close-knit culture of playing good, competitive, hard, honestly fought cricket, something which they have truly epitomized. Why was the reason everybody felt bad for them? And the truth is, more people felt bad for them in 2019 World Cup than they were happy faces when England won. It's not about the boundary count. It's about because Kane Williamson epitomizes the classic leader. A man ever wanting to be small so that the others can get the limelight, the attention. And much has been said about Martin Guptill's form and rather the lack of it, and Jimmy Neesham showing patchy brilliance here and there. But on their day, a bit like South Africa and West Indies, they can torment any team. And I think I again reiterate my own point. Their greatness comes from the fact that they are willing to be not branded in big headlines. They want to be simple and.
His humbleness, his humility, the base for their greatness.
Absolutely. And there's a reason why New Zealand are called New Zealand, because in every cricket game they play with this New Zealand, which is to be them.
Well said.
Yaar, ghamand hai nahi na, kya kare bas.
But Dave, when you were talking about Kane Williamson as being this cool captain, the Iceman, another captain that springs to my mind in a similar sort of a zone is Eoin Morgan. Because I haven't seen him also perturbed ever. He has this nice, happy look on his face, irrespective of however England is going.
He has a poker face expression.
He actually has a nice, happy look on his face. I mean, it's like if England is not performing also, Eoin Morgan's expression doesn't change.
He's unfazed.
Unlike Virat Kohli, Eoin Morgan does not merit a role in Bollywood. I'm sorry, but he can't.
Sorry, I'm just getting a call from Anushka. हाँ भाभी जी, नहीं, आपके husband को tag नहीं कर रहे हो उसे यार, हम target, please, okay, bye. She was angry, but I did not throw the garbage on the road. But anyways, yeah. So
hasn't he been an inspirational leader for you?
Absolutely. And the fact that there is one thing since you asked Morgan, there's one thing which comes to my mind. I think he fired no fewer than 10 or 11 sixes in the World Cup game 2019 against Afghanistan. Yeah. Now, don't forget, it's perhaps the strongest spin attack right now on planet Earth. The strongest spin attack. Mujib, Mohammad Nabi, Rashid. And in that game, he really put the bowlers to the sword. And I think it was a career best score on English soil for him in the World Cup. Right. And I think Morgan is somebody who really rules, he leads by an example. And I think it is his ice coolness which has rubbed off well on the other players. But
I think they've given up on the fear of failure. I think that's out of their head now. I mean, we will play to win and we don't have the fear of losing. That's why they've been so fantastic.
Yeah. Which is unlike the West Indies. We will play, but we are scared of winning. So let us just play mediocre cricket and lose. Which is very sad because, like, for example, and I would just want to just take your views on the game against South Africa. The innings was slow, horribly slow. Then Evan Lewis suddenly put the team on the driver's seat. You would agree.
Yeah, of course, 100%.
And then nothing was going in South Africa's way. It was like Evan Lewis versus South Africa. And then how did that team manage to just put 143 on the board? It's inexplicable. Any final thoughts? any message for fans, Indian fans, Pakistani fans, South African fans?
Dave, before we wind up, I want to get your point of view on Afghanistan also. How have they been playing, and do you see them coming into the Final Four? Because I think the thrashing they gave to Namibia was something. And I saw that game. Right from their batting to their bowling, they looked like a very well-rounded unit. Would you be happy if they progress to the series? Let me put it like that. And do you see them progress?
I would be very happy. I would be very happy, and I'm somebody who won't be surprised at all if in the next edition of the T20 World Cup, if not this, they make it to the Final Four. I won't be surprised at all. The only thing which they would want to take cognizance of is batting, because when it comes to bowling, all the boxes have been rightly ticked. When you have a captain in Mohammad Nabi, right?
He's brilliant.
He's brilliant. He's again one guy who you will never read opinion pieces on, the so-called last words on, cricket, and the final authorities on cricket will never spend time on Mujibur Rahman. How many opinion pieces have we read about Gulbuddin Nair? We haven't read anything. There was no article which celebrated the return of their cute-looking wicketkeeper who danced with Chris Gayle when West Indies Chris Gayle lost. When Chris Gayle's West Indies rather lost the game in the T20 World Cup last time.
In fact, how many articles were written on Afghan Asghar when he just retired in the last game? I haven't seen a single piece.
There's one coming up tonight on Conrad Point.
Thank God for that. Well done.
Yeah. No, I mean, we stand for the less.
Because on the bigger websites, I haven't seen a single piece, and he's been
it's just about India, England,
endless
Australia,
devoted servant here.
Yeah.
So do you think that if Afghanistan do make it to the Final Four, I won't say the smaller nations, because Afghanistan is definitely punching above their weight, but nations like Namibia, nations like Scotland, Ireland, Zimbabwe, they'll get that hope that if Afghanistan can do wonders, so can we.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's more riding on Afghanistan, considering whatever's happened with them in their country also, with the tea invasion and stuff?
I wouldn't call it solely that, because it's a nation which has constantly been embroiled in turmoil, constantly. When has a week been a happy week in Afghanistan? Now with the Taliban being there, things are as disparaging than ever.
And the Afghan government.
Having said that, again, the point is, how badly do you desire winning is something which may carve your immediate next steps. When India lost to Pakistan, it was a huge blow to us Indians, because we never even considered them worthy of beating us. Yes, in the press conferences, it is a wonderful,
Was it worthy of beating us, or also worthy of playing us? Because I would think the latter was also very true. With some of the comments that I've read.
In life, and this is not a life lesson, I'm not Akashvani, and I'm not some God-given, God-ordained force to give you moral lessons in life. You, the fan.
And you're not Akash Chopra also.
Fan of the game. Yeah, don't aspire to be. He is a legend in his own right. If you do not respect your opponent, and if you actually have the audacity of coming out with TV commercials which celebrate the downfall of the other, this is when you haven't really won in the game which is yet to happen. You are not setting a good example. India is an amazing talent. India is a collection of unbelievable talents. The kind of hitting Hardik Pandya does, and I'm not the biggest Hardik Pandya fan for whatever his shenanigans. He
isn't as big as Pandya.
I'm glad. But I won't be surprised one day Indian media says that he's Hrithik Roshan in dance moves. I mean, the kind of journalism...
You want to end the podcast right now with what you've just said?
No, I want to go on for 2 minutes. So I think the big powers, the powers that should just lead by an example. And that example can be of grace and humility. And we were never a land of arrogance, of just showing disdainful remarks So I'm saying that recently, when a Twitter account went as far as leveling a rape threat on Virat Kohli's daughter, a newborn kid, a child, not even a toddler yet. I think that day the cricket fanatic and the so-called devoted cricket follower, he died for me. It just ended. Because no matter what a person does on the cricket field, you are nobody to cross the line of morality, which, by the way, still exists. Good morning. You're not supposed to. There are things you can say, there are things you shouldn't, and there are things which you just carry in your heart, being left disappointed by the performance of your favorite team. But what is this culture that we have come to embrace where people are leveling rape threats to a cricketer's family? That's just insane. And we can do better than that. We have to set an example. It's not about cricket, it's not about those 50 or 20 overs or T10 or whatever. It's about setting an example. Yeah. So I think it's unfortunate what happened to Mr. Virat Kohli. It's unfortunate what has happened to India. But I think I would want to leave you with the train of thought. There was something even wrong in the scheduling of India's matches. 10 days after a loss, you don't play a game. You don't return to the cricket field before 8, 9 days. And when you do, you're just confused, you're befuddled, and then the pressure is already there because you have to negate the excess baggage of having lost the last game.
No, but
So
that's because Sunday
nothing's
gets you
not.
prime time viewing. No, it's the scheduling is not basis cricket. Sorry, and I have no qualms in saying this because it's a fact. India is playing on a Sunday at 7:30 in the evening because that's prime time view. That's precisely it. And
So
because
much
of that, now they're going to be
for headlines. So much for headlines.
now they're going to be in immediate matches, which is not going to harbor well for them anyway, because the gaps between matches will suddenly reduce to an obnoxiously low level.
Yeah. I think somewhere the fans are playing for them. They're not playing to satisfy the unbearable egos of the keyboard warriors. And just let them be. One team has to lose, one team has to win. We learn the lessons and then we come back stronger. That's the parting lesson, that parting thought at Correct Point. Thank you, Pranay, for joining me
Thank
on
you,
this.
Dave.